day long. We're going to talk tips. We're going to answer questions, real tips. Like Tom comes on sometimes and gives his tips to operating a camera the right way. I might have a tip for publishing your book the right way, or not necessarily the right way, but something that saves you some time. So, Tom, I thought today that we would talk tips, get into the rudimentary tips. And the thing about rudimentary, what's rudimentary for one is not rudimentary for another. If I'm not doing video, hey, what's up, Billy, man? I hope you can come up. We're talking tips today, man. So let's give Billy a little like to speak. We're just getting started, my friend. We're going to talk tips, rudimentary tips. So one of mine, Tom, I was just thinking about publishing a book. So we'll go straight publishing a book. As you're going down this publishing process, you think you're near the end of the process and your book is on a screen somewhere. It is imperative that you print this book out. And somebody would say, well, why would I print it? I've been looking at it on the screen for a year. That's exactly why, because you've been looking at this book on the screen for a year. It's time to print the book out and read the book. Go over it. Go to Staples, go to Office Max, something like that. Print your book out and read it. Make the notes right in. Well, that's going to take more time. Yeah, it is. But once you print that out on a piece of paper, you're going to see things. You're going to pick up mistakes that you never saw before. So, Tom, that's my first tip. Give us a tip, man.
That sounds good, man. I wouldn't have thought of that. And I'm definitely gonna, I'm working on a book right now on legendeering, and so I'm definitely going to use that tip when I get a little bit further along in the process, right?
So yeah, 100%. Tom, back to that. The thing about it is you've been looking at this book for so long. You look at the screen for so long. It's just, what the book says. So your story so well that you're not even really reading it anymore. It's in your head. It's like memory. You've memorized what that story is. So you are not proofing it the same way anymore. And then once you print it out and see it in a different place, that's why it's so helpful.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. And I think also it gives you a sense of what the experience will be like for the people that buy the book, right? And that's something that you aren't going to get from looking at it in Word on your computer, because nobody else is going to consume the book that way, right? And if you want to sell actual physical copies of the book, then you want to get a sense of what it'll be like for the people you're selling to actually hold that book in their hands and actually interact with it and read it. So I totally get that. It makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the my tip, I'm going to go back to just getting started with video, right? So my tip is, like I've talked about before, get your camera out of your pocket and practice. And what I mean by that is I actually have like an exercise that I want people to do, right? So to get started creating video content, what I want people to do is I want to, at least twice a week, people get their phone out of their pocket and create a 1-minute video, right? Just them talking to camera, documenting some part about their day, right? And when you're thinking like, oh, what should I talk about? Because this is a place where people struggle, right? Think about something that you'd be excited to tell a close friend, right? Or a family member or your partner, right? Something about your day that you'd be excited to relay to someone else, right? So it's just that simple, just a quick anecdote from the day, a quick thing that happened, something you saw, something you thought about, right? Very quickly, throw that out, 1-minute video. Do that twice a week. And then once you create those videos, you're not going to post them, right? This isn't about posting. This is about creating content. So what you're going to do is you're going to watch those videos back 3 times each, right? The first time you're going to watch it with just sound, right? So turn it all the way up, put it face down on the desk, and just listen to yourself, right? And all I want you to do is pay attention to what you like and what you don't like, and make sure you find both, There are going to be things you don't like. Don't only focus on that. Find the things you like also, right? Then you're going to watch it with just videos. Turn the sound all the way down. Watch yourself. Pay attention to your body language, how you engage with the camera, right? Pick out things that you like and things you don't like. You don't have to do anything about them. I don't want you to write them down. Nothing. I just want you to pay attention, right? And then the last time is you're going to watch it back with sound and video at the same time, right? And I want you to do that for a month, at least twice a week, right? And then at the end of that month, at the end of those 30 days or those 4 weeks, right? 28 days. I want you to take the video. I want you to pull up the video, the first video you recorded, and I want you to watch it again. And then I want you to immediately after that, watch the most recent video you recorded. And the reason I want you to do that is because I want you to see how much better you've gotten at creating content in those 4 weeks, right? How much better you've gotten at it, how much you've improved. I want you to take note of that improvement, how much happier you are with that final piece of content versus the first piece of content you recorded. And then I want you to start making content and sharing it with the world. That's my tip.
Love it, Tom. And so I'm not using any of them. I'm just storing them, Tom, and judging myself.
Yeah, no pressure. You're practicing, right? You're practicing, right? So it's like, imagine, you're learning, if you're a musician, you're learning a new piece of music, right? On the piano or guitar or flute or whatever you play, right? You're learning a new piece of music. So you're going to practice it by yourself before you play it in front of anybody else. And that's all you're doing, right? You're just practicing. And practice makes improvement, right? Like we've talked about before. So all I want you to do is practice, but then crucially, what video enables you to do is then put your first video and your most recent video side by side, right? So you can watch them back to back and you can clearly see, you can delineate, you can mark that improvement. You can see that improvement. It is measurable and appreciable, right? And then that will help give you that confidence boost that you need to start sharing content with the world, right? It'll get you over that hump.
Tom, I'm loving it, man. Let's go do Clubhouse podcasting, publishing, and social media. We do this room every Wednesday. We got a club, follow the club. But today we are talking tips and we're answering questions. So whether you have a tip on Facebook, whether you have a tip on publishing a book, if you have a tip on video, we want your tip. We want your tip. Something you're doing is going to help somebody else. So we're excited to hear what you're doing. Give. We're trying to be givers. So Prof T is a giver. I went in a room with Prof T on was it either Saturday or Sunday, like off time where usually I'm not in a room, and I picked up so much value from Prof T that now I'm like following Prof T everywhere she goes. So Prof T, you got a tip for us today?
Good morning. Hey, everybody. Great to be here. This is Teresa Augustinelli, otherwise known as Prof T from Philly. So, yeah, I'm glad you were there, Dominick. It's a room I have every Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. for like an hour or so. Always uplifting, talking about helping people get to the next level. So I'm always excited to share that. And it's always on the psychology of sales and helping you to better your business. So anyway, with that said, I have one tip. It's part A, part B. I'll make it quick. I don't want to hog your mic. Hire somebody who knows how to do what you don't know how to do. I racked my brain and beat my head against the desk for so long that I cracked down and said, "Hey, I gotta find somebody who knows how to do this." So it's very important to hire someone. You can find people, please back channel me. There are people who are relatively inexpensive to do things for you. If money is an object, you got to bully your budget. Bully your budget. And then finally, when you do have someone, I've had people helping me for about 2 years now. I'm repurposing stuff. You can repurpose stuff. You can actually take a picture of the post you want to post and just repurpose it. Repurpose your stuff. Find somebody who does what you don't know how to do, who can do it better. Thank you. That's my tip. Prof T, back to you.
Prof T, great one. I love this idea of repurposing. It's something that everybody in this room should be doing. If you believe in your content, later on in the day, I was going to talk algorithms, but if you believe in your content, right now, only 10% of your content's getting through. I can go in your LinkedIn right now. I can divide how many people you're connected with, divide it by the number of views you got on your last 5 posts, and I can see clearly within 2 minutes the amount of posts that they are allowing through to your platform on LinkedIn. Same on TikTok. You're at 6%, 10%, whatever you're at. You know, you might be a little higher if you get likes and shares and things like that. You have to reshare your post. You have to. Now you like Prof T said, it's a great idea you could take, let's say you wrote a book. You could share a picture of an endorsement. You could share the link to the endorsement. You could actually cut and paste the endorsement in the words. That's 3 different ways on one platform just to share that endorsement. So then there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook. So you could be sharing that same endorsement not 3 different ways on 4 different platforms. You could share it different days of the week. You could share it different times of day. You could tag the person who gave you the endorsement and thank them. So there's so many ways just with that one piece of content. Like Tom, you were mentioning the videos, the 30 days videos, and I'm thinking, man, I got 30 days of videos. Boy, would I like to take those to TikTok, take them to Reels, and cut them down. And rather than giving the whole minute, I would take those 30 days. I would find my best 10 seconds and share them on Reels, on TikTok, on something like that, and think how much content you could get like that. So, if one content, somebody sent me a message yesterday. They said, I'm going to share more stuff. And I said to him, I replied back, content is currency. So he hadn't been sharing. And he's like, I should share this. And my response was, content is currency. So, Tom, we need more tips. We must proceed. Uh, Dr. Tachi, Dr. Tachi's a wealth of knowledge, and Charlie and Prof T and Tom, we'll just keep going around and bringing more people up and things like that. But if you guys are game, we'll just keep sharing tips. So, Dr. Tachi, welcome. What do you got?
Hey there, good morning, everyone. Great tips by everyone. Of course, I always co-sign on what Tom says 100%. I'd like to add to that I think that there's a tendency, especially when you first start doing videos, to keep starting over again and re-recording and say, no, let me start again. I would say try to get through it, because the tendency, if you start over, is not only does it sometimes erode the confidence in what you do, then you start uh, forgetting which takes were the best takes, and it adds more time to what you have to edit. Now, not everybody is able to do it in one take, absolutely, but I would challenge people not to do numerous takes in the quest for perfection, because there's no such thing. So I would say just try and get through it. And if you make serious mistakes, then go back. I think sometimes people think they need to sound teleprompter perfect, and no, you don't, because you're not a robot. You're going to flub up or make mistakes. I always just go back and just make a correction to what I said if I make a mistake, because what I don't want to do is either start over or fix all of that in editing, because editing does take time. So that's my tip for today, to try and get through it. It's okay to start over if you make a serious mistake, but if it's something that is just a normal part of when people talk, I would say let it go and don't start again. Try and get through it. And another thing that helps with that is doing lives. And I know that could be even more scary than recorded video, but the reason that I'm able to get through things without constantly starting over is because I'm always live streaming. And there is no do-over in live streaming. And because of that, you just kind of carry that same spirit when you do recorded video. So with that, I give the mic back to you, Dom.
Thanks, Dr. Tachi. I appreciate that. I think you're 100% right. That there's too much of a focus. People get too focused on trying to be perfect, and they redo. So I'm going to amend my tip, right? And I'm going to say these 1 minute videos you're doing are one takes. There are no do-overs. You do a 1 minute video. If you stumble, you just keep going, right? Because the exercise is not about perfection. It's about improvement, right? Perfection is an unattainable goal. You will never get there. None of us will ever get there. I certainly am never going to get there, right? But none of us will get there. We are humans. We are imperfect. We all make mistakes, right? So give yourself the grace to be a person, right? And share, like right there, I just stumbled, right? A little bit. I'm not worried about it. I'm not freaking out in my head like, oh my God, nobody's going to take me seriously now because I had a little stumble in my speech. We're human, right? We all make those kinds of mistakes. So embrace that. Give yourself the grace to be a person, right? And at the end of the day, when you're creating content and looking to forge connections with people on social media or on digital platforms, people want to see other people. People want to connect with other people. People don't want to connect with some kind of perfect version of themselves. So don't strive for that ridiculous. I think the term that most people use colloquially is Instagram perfect, right? Like, don't try to strive for that. There is no such thing. All of those people you see who look perfect on Instagram are very imperfect in real life, just like everyone else, right? So put your real self forward. Like we've said before, be relentlessly authentic. Own who you are, be proud of who you are, and share who you are with the world. And that is how you can forge real relationships and real connections with people through media. So yeah, Dr. Tachi, 100%. Embrace it, make mistakes, embrace those mistakes, talk about those mistakes, and use those mistakes to help you grow and move forward as you improve with the content you create. What do you think about that, Dom? Is that a good addendum?
I'm loving it. And Dr. Tachi, I admit I am guilty of restarting 1,000 times on my videos. I cut, and now I'm on this regional show now. It's on we bikes and hikes. We go around and bike and hike around, and it's in like a couple states. And one of the things that my producer said to me one day, we have GoPros, and then we wear these mics, and he was editing, the program director. He's editing them, and he said, Dominick, he sent me a timeline of Adobe Premiere. And in Adobe Premiere, he showed us our mutual feeds from the day. And I had shut my camera on and off like 40 times and my mic on and off like 17 times. And he's like, it's too much. I can't edit this. How you need to leave your mic on, leave your camera on. You could stop it, like, to Dr. Tachi's point, you could stop it every once in a while, but 40 times he was not happy with me. So, Dr. Tachi, I am receiving what you're saying, so I'll try to do better.
As somebody who spends time in editing software and using editing software, has spent countless hours of my life editing content, I 100% empathize with the producer and second and echo what he has to say. If you are recording content that you are going to edit or is going to be edited for someone else, do not start and stop recording. Please. You can say, don't use that take. I'm going to try it again, right? And then start again. But please don't stop and start 100 times. It just really makes the post-production process super complicated. So completely empathize with him, Dominick. And make sure that you just let it roll. Just let it roll.
Let it roll. See, that's good tips. We're learning stuff today. Okay, Charlie's blowing up he's an author now. He's blowing up on social media. Charlie, the goal of today is we're sharing tips. So if you have a question, ask a question, because maybe somebody can give you the tip. But if you share a tip that we can use wherever you're at, something you're doing might help somebody else. So that's what we're looking for, my friend. What do you got?
Good morning, everybody. Well, one of the tips that I share is I make myself accountable because I don't want to waste any time. And I'm accountable by a daily journal. And as simple as that might sound, it really yields big dividends because every day I start to build the next day's journal as to what I'd like to accomplish. So I know these are things, and they're simple things and complicated things, but it keeps me moving forward. Tom likes to use that term, moving forward. Um, and, quite frankly, when Tom got injured with his shoulder, um, I thought that he was done for the season. I thought that, that was it. It was done. And then obviously that's not the case. And we can follow Tom on his daily post. I think we're up to about 110, day 110, I believe. So we have to move forward. And how best to move forward than to be accountable? In my mind, I'm not accountable. It's just a squirrel cage, hamster cage, going around and around. So once I put it on paper, it takes shape and I know it's there. So that's the simple things. And of course, everything else leads into that. When we're accountable, we make better choices. We think about where we're going to eat. We think about what we're going to drink. We think about everything we can do to help propel ourselves forward. As far as the video, that's a great suggestion, and I've been told that by a lot of people, and it must be true because here we are again hearing about it. Charlie, every day do a short little reel, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Don't mess with it; just do it. Critique it later. And unfortunately for me, I got in front of these audiences with these podcasts, and I let the YouTube audiences of the world really critique me. And you can really see that there's a development in the way you approach the mic, the way you approach a question, how you answer a question, how long you spend answering a host question and getting back, going out too far and then coming back in. But I've had millions and millions of people view me. So now when I think about making a reel, why should I be nervous? I mean, my content's all over the world. So I need to do this. I think it's a very, very good tool. And it's just another training tool. It's just another training tool. And it would be fun to look back and have these short, never erase them because it'd be fun to look back at this years from now. So I'm good with that. Other than that, I'm going to be a good listener today. I'm in good space. I got a lot of good things happening because of Clubhouse. It's connecting me to a lot of people. And I'm going to try to just keep moving forward. And I'll pass the mic back.
Charlie, brother, we appreciate you, and I've seen his ascension. I've seen his accountability. I've sit down with him and ate lunch and watched him eat healthy while I pounded fried chicken. So I know that Charlie is the real deal. So thanks, Charlie. One thing that Charlie mentioned that Prof T mentioned, it's interesting. A lot of these, she mentioned the reshare. Charlie started talking about reels and making video. And I want to just, so you may have this great piece of content in your phone right now, even if it's a photo. You could put photos on TikToks and reels. You can put 10 photos in a row. Prof T could put 10 photos of her writing her book or 10 photos and put some music behind it. Then all of a sudden, without even making a new video, only using the content that she had before, or it could be Charlie's his dog Star running, and then he plays "You Are the Wind Beneath My Wings" or something under that. You can reshare the same content in different ways. And trending, go on, Tom.
I was going to say, I'll take that up a level, Dom, is yes, you can share stills on those platforms, but remember those platforms are primarily video platforms, right? People go to different platforms for different things. So sharing photos, people go to Instagram, right? Primarily to consume still content, right? In their feed. They look at Instagram Reels to consume video. They go to TikTok to consume video. So just bear in mind what people are going on that platform with expectations of consuming, right? And then do your best to meet those expectations or exceed those expectations. And here's an easy way to do it. You got a still picture you want to share, right? Then here's what I want you to do. You share that still picture, but then you also, right, you share that still picture in the context of a short video where you tell the story of that picture, right? So just a very quick, this is a picture we took while blah, 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 blah. Like just tell the story the way you would explain the context of that photograph to somebody you were showing it to on your phone, right? We've all done that. You get your phone out, you show a picture to somebody and you tell them context. You give them context for that picture, right? Verbally as you're showing it to them on your phone. So I just want you to do the same thing, but do it in a video format, right? And share that picture on TikTok that way. Give people the context, right? If you're going to make a video with stills, give them the context, the same verbal context that you would give to a person you were showing it to in real life. And people will be able to identify with, appreciate, empathize with, and understand that photo on a deeper level than if you just put the photo up. So that's how I want you to level that up. But yeah, share those still pictures, right? But give the context.
Thank you, Tom. You're the man. Okay, next we got my friend. Funny, two people in a row up on this stage, one in Pennsylvania, one in Chicago. I have broken bread with, and my friend Rashid the Motivator. He picked me up in Chicago one time. He came to my hotel, picked me up, drove me to his house, and his wife made us a beautiful dinner after we toured Chicago, and I made a little video. Rashid the Motivator, what kind of tip would you give us today?
Hey guys, man. First off, thanks for having me. Dom, congratulations on the new national show, man. I never got a chance to really congratulate you on that. You know, it's funny. We were just talking some time ago about Netflix and being on TV, and here you go with it. So congratulations with that. That's big time. Yeah, I remember that night. We ate lasagna, man, and it was a ball. We had a great time here in Chicago. A lot of great feedback. The social media world, man, it's seems like there's gurus everywhere and there's all kind of tips on how to truly be successful. But really, this is a grassroots trailblazing type of thing here, where you got to kind of find your own path here. I definitely recommend the originality of just who you are, right? Bringing your personality to the camera, which can be tough because you're looking into a camera and you're thinking about who am I going to be in front of this camera rather than just being yourself. I've been definitely guilty of it. In doing camera work, videography, I always ask the person I'm recording, hey, tell me the funniest joke you've heard recently or someone's ever told you. And a lot of people are like, well, why am I doing this? It's just to get you comfortable, right? And getting comfortable in front of the camera is the best thing you can do, right? Getting comfortable with the mistakes, the bloopers, even keeping that, adding that content on social media, because what I've seen is, a big growing in bloopers as well, where people show like, okay, here's the original cut, here's the blooper cut. And the biggest thing that I continue to learn and see is that people relate to you because of your story and who you are, and the identities and who they are versus who you are, and the similarities is what's going to bring me back to your content continuously, right? Now, if I see someone that's like, oh, well, they have to be perfect, and then all of a sudden I subconsciously start thinking about, like, am I that person? Can I relate to their content? It's all about how well your viewers relate to your content, and they're able to do that the easier you are with just being yourself naturally, which comes with practice. Again, social media it's all trial and error. It takes consistency, and that's something I'm learning right now as I kind of build out my platform of content. The consistency, because again, in this new world of social media, like people just eating it up like food. Like, okay, great, that video was great. What's next? Okay, that's great. Okay, how many times have you seen a post and you've gone to that person's page and looked at their other content, right? And I do it a lot on TikTok. Like, okay, that was a great video. Okay, let me see what else you got. Oh, well, okay. And I find myself liking 3, 4 videos back to back because of that relatability and really the niche as well. It's crazy on TikTok how people define their niche. Where there's one guy wearing a yellow ski mask that answers questions in a 3-piece suit, right? And there are other people that it's one guy that wears a fox mask, right? So it's like everybody's carving out their niche of essentially what they really want to identify as on social media. And that's something that is special, because when you can find that, you find a following, you find a fan base, and you got overnight superstardom right then and there by just following your passion of what you love to do, regardless of, again, you're going to have some social media trolls and people are like, why are you doing this? Or this isn't good. And, as you continue to go towards it and just embrace it, it continues to look better and better and better. And me personally, I'm in this space of, content creation and creating for others. And I'm like, man, I'm sitting here challenging myself, like, man, which one should I do? And it's like, do both, to be able to be a production company and give the behind the scenes of what content creation looks like for others and yourself is something that I feel like would be a great niche for me. So it's all about finding your niche, being comfortable in front of the camera, making mistakes. That's all good. If you're making mistakes, you're doing something good. When the camera isn't on, that's when you're not being productive and producing, because even some of the greatest mistakes, bloopers, are some of the best content, right? We see it all the time with the memes and things where we're just like, wow. And then you hear the backstory where, hey, that wasn't even the intention, and here it is, 10 million plus views on it. So you really don't know till you try, and just keep embracing what's different, and trailblazing, because a lot of content looks the same, unfortunately, and TikTok provides that, right? Where okay, it's a trend, right? But being able to create a new trend, or being able to do something original, I think that's what even TikTok, YouTube has, made it very clear, even within their profiting system, that, those who have the more original content are, getting some of the big bucks, So it's just something to think about, as, you create. It's a beautiful process. It's a great process. I also agree with the editing process as well. It's easier to just shoot all the way through. I always tell a client, look, we got plenty of battery, we got plenty of memory. Okay. So we can always do a 3-second mute real quickly, start it up again, and during the editing process, you never know, right? But when I have 4 or 5, 100 different clips to go through of, things that I'm like, well, 200 is a bad, it's easier to just go through and go to that point where, okay, the edit is good. So I definitely agree with the editing process. It's all time consuming, but there's nothing like seeing that final product, and also seeing the feedback when you're like, man, it took this long. And even with time, as you edit more, it takes less time. I've learned that too. Like edits that used to take 4 or 5 hours, I can do in an hour now. So, repetition, consistency, and just originality. And I think you got to hit. Thanks for letting me share, guys.
Rashid, man, don't go anywhere, because you were dropping all kinds of tips. Like, there were so many levels of that we could touch on, Tom. The one that hit me was consistency. So think about all these posts. So many people are like, well, I'm not going to post till next Thursday. I'm going to post this next Friday. I'm going to start posting. I have a guy that told me the other day he's going to start posting in January. I'm like, what the blank are you waiting for, that you're going to wait till January to start posting? Now, imagine when people find you, because let's say you're like Dr. Tachi and you're blowing up, and Charlie, you're blowing up. Now, when they find you and they go into your TikTok, like Rashid says, they find 100 more videos, and they're like, whoa, this is interesting. I didn't know Tom did this. I didn't know Prof T had this great book. I didn't know Charlie had a book about this. And by producing all this content, when the people find you, because we're meeting new people each day, like in this room today, there's 28 people here right now. How many of them we just met for the first time? So they do not know about something you did yesterday. They don't know about something you did a year ago, unless you've shared it or reshared it. So, Tom, what's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think consistency is so crucially important, and so many people miss the boat on that, right? They post, like, I have this conversation all the time, right? Somebody will reach out to me, because we all know that my day job, I produce video content, right, for businesses, right? That's what I do. That's my background. That's my expertise. And I talk to businesses all the time where they're like, we want to do a video. And my response to that is, pump the brakes. You want to do videos, multiple plural, because consistency is crucially important to building a community, building an audience for your brand, right? And the reason, I'll explain exactly why it's crucially important, and I'll use, surprise, surprise, I'm going to use an analogy. So anybody that knows me knows that I love me some analogies. So here we go, right? The reason consistency matters is because it enables you to do something that is crucial to building a community, right, around your brand. And that thing is building trust. Okay. Here's my analogy for how that works, right? People expect for you to continue posting when they see videos, when they see content from you. If you do like, 3 days a week and then you skip 4 weeks, right? People are going to fall off because you have not lived up to the expectations you've set for them, right? So I remember back when I was a kid, I don't remember exactly how old I was, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 years old, right? As a ballpark. When I was about 10 years old, my parents started leaving me home alone for the first time, right? And so what they would do is the first time they left me home alone, right? It was just for like an hour. And so they would set expectations. They would say, here's what we expect. We're going out for an hour. We're going to the store. We're going grocery shopping, whatever it is. We're going to get a cup of coffee. We'll be back in an hour. Here are our expectations, right? They leave the house. They come back. They see that I'm still alive. I haven't burned the house down, right? They pat me on the head, say, good job. And then the next time they leave for a little bit longer. They leave for 2 hours, right? And then they leave for 3 hours, and then they leave for half a day, and then they leave for a full day eventually at some point, right? And it's because they set expectations, and then I lived up to those expectations over and over again. And that built trust between us, right? And so the same thing is true with your content and being consistent with your content. It builds trust with your audience, and it builds trust with your community. If you say to your community, right, either literally by saying it or through action, you say to your community, I will post every day, or I will post 3 days a week, or you can expect a new episode of this kind of content from me once a week, right? Your community will grow to expect that from you. You've set those expectations. You've said, here's what I'm going to do, right? Either through words or through actions. You've set those expectations. And then it is important to continue to live up to those expectations, right? Because it will build trust with your community. And if you stop, right, then what you should do is you should communicate with your community as to why you're stopping, right? Why you're taking a break, why they're not going to see you for a little bit, why you're violating that set of expectations, right? And it's so that you can hold on to that trust. So it's not just a breach of trust. Well, this person said they're going to be here for me every week, and now they stopped showing up. And now I don't trust that they're going to show up for me anymore, right? You say, hey, look, I'm not going to be here for the next 2 weeks. Here's why. I'll see you guys soon, right? And they go, oh, okay, they're not going to be here for 2 weeks. No big deal. I know I'm going to see them again in 2 weeks. They'll start putting out more content again. All good, right? So all you have to do is be open and honest, right? And authentic, and communicate well with your audience, with your community, and you'll be able to build trust with them over time through consistent behavior. The other thing too is, look, build up a library, right? Consistent posting, consistent content creation allows you to build up a library. And the beauty about building up a library is you can use those pieces of content in your library multiple times, right? People say like, oh, I made a video, and then you post it once and they feel like it's dead. It's not, right? Because like Dominick was talking about before, only a fraction of the people that are in your community are going to see each thing that you post, right? So in a few months' time, if that video is still pertinent, if it's still valuable to your community, and of course, my focus is always on delivering value to the community, right? If that video is still valuable to the community, share it again, right? Share it once a quarter. You can share the same piece of content 4 times a year. And I promise you, the vast majority of the people that see it each time, it will be new to them. It might not be new to you, but it will be new to them. Right. So don't be afraid of resharing content multiple times. Wait a few months. Right. Don't do it back to back, like week after week, share the same video or the same piece of content. But don't be afraid to share it over time. But yeah, so ultimately it's about consistency, right? Building trust with your audience, and then making sure that once you start building that trust, you hold on to it by maintaining that consistency. What do you think, Dom? Does that all make sense?
Tom, I'm loving it, man. And I appreciate everybody for being here. I appreciate you guys for being so willing to share tips today. We just thought that, how about we just come on here? We try to always add value, have good conversation, but we thought, really, let's keep it light. Let's go at and just share tips. Share whether it's first day posting on Facebook, what you should do. One of my notes, I was going to break down groups, pages, and personal pages on Facebook later on. So something so simple, but maybe it's not that simple. It's easier to invite people to groups, but you can't boost ads on groups. You can only do them on pages. You can't boost ads on a personal page. You can only ever have so many followers on a personal page unless you're verified. So there's things like that as you're developing, and maybe you should have all three, like Talex Media. Maybe they should. Do they own their Facebook page? Because I would want to have ownership to the Facebook page. I'd want to have ownership to the group and things like that. There's value in each one of them. Maybe Tom goes and sells his business for $100 million someday. It would probably be a good thing if you owned the Twitter page that had your name, the Instagram page that had your name, the website domain that had your name, all those things like that. So we'll continue on here. And we do this room every week, Wednesdays, 9:30 Eastern. Hey, what's up, Jay? Nice to see you here, man. Jess, okay, tips. What do you got for us? A tip that's going to help launch us to that Jess level, that Jess stratosphere. What do you got for us?
Good morning. Jess, wow. Jess is definitely, things are just going a lot faster, personal and business. But I'm honestly, I need this just to kind of reset for myself, because sometimes you just need a reset button when it's, I guess that my tip would be is like, when you really put the H in hustle and you manifest all the things, sometimes you think you're ready when they all come, and then when they do come, you're not. And sometimes personal life kind of hits with a curveball. And what I've learned is that for as many times as I fell, I've stood back up. For as many times as I've kind of, in my own way, is for me, because I do love that about Tom analogies, because I'm huge with analogies too. With as many times as I've broken my own code of consistency, I've stood back up, just because I wasn't as much as, like, you're ready and you're prepared for all these great things that are coming. But when they do come, something may come in, and just, it's like I said, that curveball. All I could say is my biggest tip for that is just keep standing up, because that's kind of exactly where I'm at right now. Everything I continue to work for is really manifesting itself. But then, you get a personal kind of life curveball, and it does, it shakes the ground, and sometimes you need a reset. And this room is kind of like my reset for me, because I've been knocked down, but I stand back up. And I just like to be around people that motivate me, that are genuine, that cheer me on, and that I can honestly say that with all sincerity and honesty, that I can always come to this room and be like, yeah, this is my reset, Jess. You needed this. This is it. You know where you're going. Keep it going. Get up and keep moving. And I guess that's my tip. Thank you, guys.
Love that, Jess. I gotta say, I was thinking about that even before you said it, because of what Charlie said. a little while ago, talking about how when I broke my collarbone when I had that bike crash, that he like a lot of other people, assumed like that was the end of my racing season this year, like that was going to stop me from doing my Ironman next month, and it's obviously not. And that's because, when you ask people, it's funny, I've never thought of it this way, but people, sometimes you get asked like, what's your superpower, right? Like, what would you say? I have a friend who's a business coach, and she likes to ask people, what's your superpower? Right. And, I've said a lot of different things in response to that question before, but, I'm just thinking right now that maybe my superpower is my stubbornness, right? My inability to give up on things, right? If I've set my mind to something, I don't know how to not see it through, right? Even if I don't actually end up fully accomplishing what I've set out to accomplish, right? I don't know how to stop trying, right? Because I'm too stubborn to quit, too stubborn to give up. And that's exactly what happened, in my life with me when I broke my collarbone back in April. I was too stubborn to quit, much to the chagrin of my orthopedic surgeon, who chastised me multiple times and threatened to take my bikes away from me. But I'm too stubborn to quit, and sounds like you're the same way, Jess. You're too stubborn to quit too, and I appreciate that. And can identify with that. I think it's a superpower. I think it's something that that you should hold on to, because being too stubborn to quit, being too stubborn to give up, is ultimately what I think brings you success and fulfillment and happiness, right, in life. And I'm not talking about dollars, dollar signs in the bank account necessarily, but success is measured in a lot of different ways. For me, the first way I measure it is happiness, right? And fulfillment. And so that's the most important measure of success in my mind. I think being too stubborn to quit is a great attribute to have. And I think it's going to serve you well, Jess, as you continue to grow and continue to kind of take off like the rocket ship that you've been. So yeah, I can't wait to see what happens for you next.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. That meant a lot. Thank you so much.
Hey, can
My
I jump in
pleasure.
there for a second?
Go for it, Prof T.
Thanks, Tom. I'm just so excited. I love this topic because you're saying too stubborn to quit. I'm thinking of who remembers this song, Too Legit to Quit. Come on now, you remember that song. I remember that song. But you know what, Tom? That's what I call resilience. In fact, I wrote a book about it, and I have a podcast, The Road to Resilience. And you just exemplified. That's what resilience is. So thank you for sharing that. And I can't stress the consistency, and I'll land with this consistency. Um, when I wrote my book, people were telling me, look, stick to your book because that's my message. So I think it really helps when you have a consistent message, even if you're consistent on your platforms, have a consistent message so that people remember you. Hey, yeah, that's Teresa Agostinelli. That's Prof T from Philly, or, she's the mindset coach, things like that. So I would encourage everyone to craft your message, keep it consistent, and yeah, just be too legit to quit. Thanks. Back to you, Tom and Dominic. And folks, don't forget to share this room. This is a fabulous room. Click on that greenhouse up there, join the club, follow everyone on this stage, and hit the bell, and you'll be alerted when this room meets. And let's share, you guys. Let's share. We got 13 people share in the room. Let's do it. And thank you for allowing me to share. And I'm really glad to have some of my friends. I see some of my friends down in the audience. Thanks for coming. Back to you, Tom and Dom, the Tom and Dom show. Thank you.
Hey, Prof T, we appreciate you. And one of the things I think Tom would quickly say is, it is not the Dom and Tom show. It's all you guys making it happen. There are so many times where I'm riding your coattails, I'm taking notes, I'm writing down about consistency. We happen to be buddies that are facilitating a room, but it is by no means our show. You guys make it happen with your tips. Like sometimes, Tom, we get into podcasting or microphones. I don't know jack. And I'm looking for somebody to, I'm like, I hope Dr. Tachi's there today. I hope Prof T's there. So, because I don't know the answer to this. So go on, Tom.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say 100%, Dom. This is, the goal has always been, I think, to build something bigger than us, right? And that's a community, right? And it's something that we're a part of, right? So we all contribute to this community. It's why, people keep coming back week after week. Why we see the same people in this room week after week with us. Why people feel comfortable sharing in this space. And why we come away from this experience every week having gained for being here, right? All of us, myself, I know Dom agrees with this too. We all come away from this space every week, come away from this room feeling better for having been here, and that's the goal. And Dom and I don't make that happen. We all make that happen together. So yeah. So while I appreciate Prof T and other folks, Dr. Tachi has said it before. She commented, I think, either on the LinkedIn or the YouTube last week of the live stream, saying that, she never misses this show. And Prof T calling it the Dom and Tom show. We facilitate, right? We might be hosting, but at the end of the day, it's about all of us being here together and making something bigger than there's something so much bigger than what Dom and I could do on our own. So we it's this works because of the community, not just because of the two of us. So
You nailed it, Tom. And so let's keep going. We're sharing a lot of great tips today. We're learning some stuff here. We Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We're trying to hit all kinds of tips here. So one that I was just thinking about while Prof T was talking is I jumped on Clubhouse the other morning. I jumped on earlier than I'm usually on, and Jay and Julie were having a great room. And I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. The other day I jumped on a Saturday when I'm usually out riding bikes or doing stuff with the family, and Prof T was having a really cool room. So what I would suggest, this is a small tip here, is jump on this app at different times, try it out. And if you have 5 minutes, I think I met Julie because I was waiting for my daughter one day at lacrosse at about 6:00, and I jumped in a different room one day, and I'm like, oh, this would be a cool room. And so you keep jumping in at different times, and you meet all these other people that maybe they're able to be on the app more at that time, and they're hosting great rooms where you're going to get valuable content from them. Okay, let's go here. We got our buddy Jay, and then we got Ahmad. What's up, Jay, man? Share a tip with us, and then we're going to roll to Ahmad. Jay's got all kinds of tips, and I did love the show. I love the content you had on there the other day, Jay. So continue around. We got you.
Good morning. Thank you. I don't know if I have a tip, but I like to say that I guess just be true to yourself. And I find, especially on this app, people want to be somebody they're not, right? And I say that to say this. So yesterday I had an incredible day. So Julie and we did a Zoom with Investigative ID, the network, and they reached out to us. I don't even know how they found us, to be honest with you. And they want to do basically all the stars from that network. They want us, I guess, to cross promote what we're doing on here with their stars and bring their stars on here to do Clubhouse rooms with us.
Investigation discovery.
Whatever. And they want us to mod their rooms. They want to do cross promoting with them and stuff like that. So it's a big opportunity for us. And that wouldn't have happened if we didn't stay true to who we were. And if Julie wasn't, the amazing loyal person that she is. Because a lot of people have, what I do on this app is I chase the con men around this app and I try to get them off this app. And when you do that, you become very polarizing. And a lot of people have chirped in Julie's ear, what are you doing with that guy? He's no good. He's an ex-con. And she drowned out all the white noise. So, it was just an amazing day to have a major network reach out to us and say, hey, we want to work with you guys. Here's our roster of stars. You tell us who you want to work with. Pick who you want to work with. And, we want to do podcasts with you guys. We want to do Clubhouse room with you guys. We want to do Zooms with you guys. Everybody from John Walsh to the homicide hunter. That's pretty fucking amazing, Dom. Excuse my language. I was homeless 8 years ago. And then after I was done with that Zoom, I got on a Zoom with Tom. And I'm not going to get into the details of it, but Tom and I are working on a major project together. So stay true to yourself and drown out the white noise. I'm going to park there.
Go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, we're feeling it, man, Jay. And I'm watching Jay's ascension, and he's genuine, he's authentic. Shit happens in life. People make mistakes, and you can either live in the past, you can learn from it, and you can grow from it. And I think Jay's a perfect example of that. And now he's doing some good, and you can feel it. He's like a ball of energy. So I'm happy when you jump in the room, and I appreciate your contributions. So go on, Tom.
I was going to say, Jay is exactly, Jay exemplifies what I'm talking about when I say be relentlessly authentic, right? Like, Jay doesn't know how to be anybody but Jay, right? And I think we could all kind of take a step in that direction, right? And try to be who we are all the time, regardless of where we are, right? And people often, I talked earlier about, I mentioned like the Instagram perfect, and people feel like they have to put on a face. It's sort of like, it's not dissimilar to this idea that, you're somebody at business, there's a business life and a personal life, right? There's just life, right? During some parts of your life, you're working. During some parts of your life, you're with your family. During some parts of your life, you're doing, fun things or things you enjoy that other people think you're crazy for doing, like training for an Ironman, whatever the case may be. But there's just life. There's no business life, personal life. Like the work-life balance thing kind of drives me nuts, because at the end of the day, you just have life, right? You just have one life to live. You don't get two lives. You're not two different people, one person at the office, one person when you're home with your family. You're the same person. So like, stop trying to pretend to be different people given the scenario. Just be who you are and own who you are and be proud of who you are, and be authentic, right? Like Jay's talking about. So yeah, I think he nailed it. Just be yourself, always and everywhere.
Thank you, man. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jay, Jess, Rashid, Charlie, Dr. Tachi, Prof T, of course, Tom. We love Tom. Okay, somebody else we love, Ahmad. Ahmad, our global ambassador. What's up, Ahmad? Give us a tip today. That's what we're looking for. Tips on anything you're doing, something that we could use that you've done that might help one of us. What do you got? He's there. 3, 2. We'll come back to Ahmad. Shayna, I know Shayna drops tips. Shayna, I love when you come into a room, like the energy, the tips. She's always so willing to give. So what do you got for us today?
Actually, today I have a question, right?
Fair enough. You got I think, like I said, I don't know jack about podcast microphones, but I think you have a room here that is going to get you some answers. So let's hear the question.
Awesome. And I know that's not your lane of genius, right, Dom? But I actually do have a podcast question because I'm looking at launching my podcast towards the end of September. And so I'm just doing like different research and prepping, and I want to start interviewing in August, right? So to have some shows pre-recorded so I can be able to maintain the consistency. I would like to have at least 4 shows recorded that I can just have up ready to go. And now as I'm preparing, that's my mindset, right? Consistency is key. But I'm not sure about the different options like Spreaker or Libsyn and things like that. I'm almost certain I'm not going to utilize Anchor, but I wanted to know if anybody could give some feedback or advice on those other things.
If she's available, I'm going to hit Dr. Tachi first, and anybody else that wants to flash, go on. Dr. Tachi, I've heard you jump in on this before and preach, so please do.
Yeah. Hey, Shayna. So, can you explain again? Are you looking for something to help you pre-record? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
No, ma'am. After I do the recording right, and now I'm going to upload it, and I want to be able to access the RSS feed right and get my podcast recordings out to the masses. Should I look into options like Spreaker or Libsyn? You got Buzzsprout. I'm almost certain I'm not going to use Anchor, but I'm curious about that.
Okay. So yeah, actually, any of those will work really well. Any of those hosting platforms. There's also Blueberry. There's also Podbean. We use Podbean for ours, and we tend to like it so far. So far, it's been 6 years, and it's been pretty good to us. Podbean also has the option for you to record live, so you can do a live show if you like, and of course, it's then stored for people to hear later. So that's the cool thing about Podbean. Anchor again, and I actually said this last week. I we I have a couple of things on Anchor. I was a big time Anchor 1.0 user. The thing with Anchor is, yeah, it's free, but nothing is 100% free. So if I'm not mistaken, there may be a tagline on the end. Somebody else can correct me. But at one time, there used to be a this podcast was made with Anchor or something to that effect. So you're always paying somehow. So even though you're not paying for hosting, you pay in another way. The thing about Anchor that is good though is that it automatically pushes out to things like Apple Podcasts, etc. So you don't have to individually apply to put your podcast on these different platforms. So that's the advantage with Anchor. The disadvantage is you're paying somehow, even if you're not paying monetarily. But we've had great success with Podbean, but I would again do some more research to ensure that you get what you want to get for the price you pay. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, Shayna, that's all you. I wanted to. I think Dr. Tachi's an excellent resource. I love to lean on her very heavily. So, what are your thoughts?
I'm definitely going to look into Podbean. That's one that I did not look into yet. This is like my research month on compiling like that type of information. So I do appreciate that as another option that I could look into. So thank you.
Excellent. Hey, Julie, if you're around, I know you. Jess, go on.
No, I was gonna. Dom, we were aligned because I was gonna be like, Jules, are you there, Jules? Come on.
And the thing about
I'm
Julie
here.
too,
I'm here. Caw. I'm here,
J-
everybody.
You hear me?
Julie's going to give us some feedback on this, but I wanted to give Julie props on understanding the value of ownership as well. With her media casters, she will push a lot of the content directly from website where she has her and her team have 100% ownership of it. So I think that does apply there. There's times where, like we've seen it over the last year, where Clubhouse went down or Facebook went down and people were freaking out. There is a little brilliance to Julie, which Jay knows. That's why he's hopping on with her. But Julie, we're talking about podcast platforms, and so go on and then do your thing.
The Pied Piper of Clubhouse.
Jay, you had another nickname for her yesterday too. That was
It
what
probably
was it?
wasn't nice, though.
No, it was. I thought it was. What
Oh, it
was
was.
it?
FYI, I did tap into her Mighty Networks last week when she had a room going. But go ahead, Julie.
Oh, yeah. And I'm so excited. And I love that. And I agree with Dr. Tachi. I've had clients who've used Anchor. I think it's great if you're a hobbyist or you're unsure. The analytics aren't as clear as a lot of the other hosting platforms. I had used Libsyn for a long time. I like Libsyn, but they cut you off at a certain amount of, downloads. Like you can only have a certain amount of bandwidth on Libsyn, and they start charging you. I haven't used Podbean. I've used Blueberry. Not that thrilled with Blueberry. So now we're using Podetize. I know Jessica uses Podetize as well. And I do like the analytics and kind of bells and whistles. I just want to say I have a discount code. And just full disclosure, they do sponsor the media casters, but it's $15 a month for up to 5 podcasts, unlimited bandwidth. And so far, I've been very happy with Podetize. but not a salesperson. Just it's a good deal, $15 a month, unlimited bandwidth. Anybody that's interested, just reach out. I can give you just the link.
Hey, Julie, just so you
Yes,
know,
very
Jay's,
salesy of me.
he's Zing while you're talking there. You see this?
Wake up, wake up.
That's what he's saying.
He always does that. You wonder why I like put up with it. You know, all his little comments about me, but he is truly a good person and on a good mission. And I do believe in his mission. And somehow I've become his crime fighting partner. And we're going to see what happens in the future. I think it's all good. So I just ignore him when he's like that. He's like my child, my children, you know, they want attention. So there you go.
Together, you guys look like the number 10.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we're going on. Ahmad's back. Ahmad, okay, Ahmad, do your thing. We want a tip from you that will help us better ourselves in media, on social, with publishing, with writing a book, with whatever. You got it. Go on.
Hey there, Dom, Tom. Hello to the moderators and everybody here. Yeah, I just like being here on this podcast. It's very, very informative, very beneficial. I like the vibes here. So I just want to touch down on what Tom and Dom said about earning confidence and how to build it. Like, I see that a lot of us are very consumed in the thought of making a mistake to a degree that make us nervous and make us stumble and forget on what we want to say. And the way I see it, that I think that to do that, you have to practice, because if you practice, that will generate confidence, and confidence itself will eradicate fear. And when fear is gone, you will see some fruitful results. So you know the saying, practice makes perfect. Like, speaking for me, like, I see that I record myself sometimes, record videos of myself speaking about a certain subject, but I don't post them to the people. I because I still see myself. I have a lot to learn, and the other problem that I'm dealing with, which is I'm not a very talkative guy, and I'm trying to change these habits. I'm trying to be more talkative, trying to be more engaging with the people, with the subject that is given or discussed. And yeah, just practice, build your confidence, and try to be more comfortable in the front of the camera. Try to be the person who's controlling the camera. Don't let the camera controls you. Like, this is the point I'm trying to make here, and I hope it's clear.
Love it, buddy. And I love this idea of practice. I got to be on a CBS morning show like a month ago or something. And when I'm on the show, I'm doing my thing with the host. And I realized that when I watched it back, that the way they were sitting and the way I was sitting, I looked like I was slouching. And it was so depressing to me because if you're on the live stream here, because I'm leaning forward to them like this, and so I think, well, that would be engaging because I'm leaning forward. But the way the cameras are, I'm 10 feet from them, so and they're like 6 inches apart, so they look really close, and they're standing straight as a board like this, and I'm leaning forward, but they're never going to show me leaning forward to them. It's just a shot of me leaning forward the whole time. And it's like, I watch it back and I think, man, I need to set up straighter. And I learned and from that I will set up straighter next time. And I understand now I'm watching CBS morning shows and stuff like that, and watching Nate Burleson and Vlad Duchier sit up straight in their chairs like this. It's almost bizarre, but it plays better on television. And that practice, whatever it is, whether we are saying filler words in our when we're talking, things like that, we will learn that from practice. We'll learn when we were talking too fast. At times, I talk too fast. I think it might be annoying to each of you. I need to slow it down. At times, I might talk too slow, and I think that might be annoying. So you practice, and become like Rashid was saying earlier, the best version of you. Hey, Charlie, you
Can I add a
clapped.
point?
Yeah, hold on. Let's go. Let's touch on Charlie, then we'll go to your point. Go on.
All right.
I think we both learned from that experience. I watched that interview with you, and that you look like a kid in the sofa. I believe that's the one. And I did the same thing out in California on Laura Catherine Robbins. I got lost in her sofa. First, I got lost in her beauty, and then I got lost in her sofa talking to her, and I got too comfortable. And I will not do that again. I will be cognizant of my appearance, either on TV or on a podcast. And now I'm looking at, I scroll the news, don't watch the news, I scroll it, and I watch newscasters do stuff that's good and stuff that's bad, like show the bottoms of their shoes. Now, if they're Christian Louboutins, I'm okay with that, but a lot of times the men let us see the bottom of their shoes that are beat up, which isn't good. And I'm learning. I'm even thinking about reeling in the gold Rolex too, because I watch Ryan Seacrest in the morning, and in this economy, who needs to see a flashy gold Rolex? So I'm looking at stuff from a lot of different angles to produce a user-friendly, neat package when I get in front of a camera and get in front of people. Because I think, Dominick, you're very clear that if you got an opportunity to give a message, you've got to present the best optics also. Because let's put it this way, we don't have to be Instagram perfect like Tom talks about, but we need to look like we got our act together, because people generally, want to hear a message from a package that looks like they have their act together. That completes me on that.
Thanks, Charlie. Ahmad, you were going to jump in there. Go on, my friend.
Yeah, I want to say on the topic of becoming a good speaker. Like, I heard this tip a lot from people. They say that if you want to be a good speaker, more articulate, try to pick someone that you think he's a good, confident speaker. Speak with confidence. Choose him and try to imitate him. Imitate the way he speaks, his hand gestures, his body language, and everything. Like, for me, like, the one that I admire more, like President Obama. Like, when he speak with confidence. He's very articulate. Like, I'm trying to be, let's say, try to imitate the way he speak and his hand gestures, because he's really a good speaker, and many.
Ahmad, I did the same thing early on with I used to watch Joel Osteen, and he would not move too far from the lectern, but he'd have hands out wide. There were certain gestures that he made, and Obama as well. Obama never points. If you're looking at me on the live stream, he has his thumbs in, but he'll reach out. And I was in a business meeting recently, and a gentleman pointed at me about 60 times during a 2-hour meeting while he was talking to me. And when my daughter, 13-year-old daughter, she used to point at stuff all the time. And then I started grabbing her finger and twisting it when she was pointing, because I found it offensive, and I knew later on other people would. So she doesn't point once I got her real good. But I'm sitting in that business meeting that day, and when the guy pointed at me for the 60th time, I thought to myself, 61 times, I'm grabbing that finger, but I did not grab that finger. But good tips, man. Thank you. Okay, go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, I think, jumping back to what Charlie was talking about with kind of essentially putting your best foot forward, right? I think is kind of what Charlie was saying. Like, yeah, like, don't try to be perfect, right? But also try to be put together. Try to put your best foot forward. And I just want to take a second to explain exactly why that matters, right? And I think Prof T will appreciate this. But essentially it matters because of something called the halo effect, right? And essentially here's how the halo effect works, right? And this is a studied psychological phenomena. It is not a theory. It is something that has been proven through scientific random control studies, right? So the halo effect essentially states that if somebody sees you do one thing well, they will automatically assume that you do other things equally well, right? So if you show up to a meeting dressed well, put together well, looking like you are confident and in charge of what you're doing and clear on your mission and all of those kinds of things, right? When you walk into that meeting, people will assume that you should be in that meeting, right? That you belong there and that you're going to perform well, right? They can trust that you'll perform well. If you show up to the same meeting with a big mustard stain on your shirt and a wrinkled pair of pants, right? And paper spilling out of your bag, people are going to look at you and go, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He couldn't even get himself here without a stain on his shirt. He's not put together. He's not putting a good foot forward, right? And I have a friend who's a psychologist who calls this the pitchfork effect, right? But essentially, the halo effect works in both directions, right? So it can rub off on you positively. So if, like, for example, it's the reason why my Zoom setup is the way it is and why I believe 100% that it matters how you present yourself on video is because as somebody who owns a video production company, it matters how I show up on video, right? People get on a call with me, a Zoom call or a virtual meeting with me, or they watch me on this live stream, and they know right away that I know how to make somebody look good on video. They just know it, right? Because I've done it for myself. I've demonstrated that skill set. They know it, right? So when I show up, they look at me and go, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, right? And they assume instantaneously that I do the same thing for my clients, right? That I put the same level of attention and care into making my clients look good on video as well, right? And it works, so that's how it works for me, but it works for everybody else here too. So make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and that you're utilizing the halo effect to your advantage and not creating a disadvantage for yourself by not paying attention to how you present to others. So I'll land it there, Dom.
Tom, one thing I wanted to point out that Tom shared with me at one point was I understood bad audio a little bit, but I wasn't hardwired into my computer. So we'd be doing the live stream and I would cut out. And then I started to think how many interviews I've done. Like I've probably done hundreds of interviews, where I'm a guest. And to think you're putting yourself out there, you have a message that you believe in, and then you're going to do something like not be hardwired in or stream or hourglass during the presentation and lose. It's a complete miss, and you don't want to have those. That's why this room today, like these rudimentary tips but maybe that's the tip that keeps you from making the mistake and your story is able to be heard by one more person. Prof T, go on, my friend.
Well, you are talking my language, Tom, and I like to stay in my lane in any rooms I'm in, and I won't. This is a whole nother topic, but yes, we are back to my message in the rooms I've been going in, the psychology of sales. And Charlie, you were spot on with the shoes. You guys, that's what we say in Philly, you guys. That's a thing, shoes. There's certain things when someone's squinting, it means they're taking an interest in what you're saying. If someone's eyes are darting, they're not interested. If someone moves in, we all know those things, most of us anyway. Shoes is a thing. I look at shoes when I'm interviewing someone or someone is interviewing me or I'm doing a teaching or a training. I look at shoes. You can tell a lot about a person by their shoes, and I'll leave it at that. Halo effect, absolutely, hands down, it is a thing. And I'm gonna land my plane with this. No matter what it is you're doing, if someone is paying you, first of all, you get what you pay for. And if someone is paying you to do something that they don't know how to do, and you're going there to provide a service or at any venue, if you don't look good, they're not going to have confidence in you. And depending on what you charge, it's important to look like you know what you're doing. I know it sounds really crass, but you've got to look like you know what you're doing. People are paying you. You may not think they care, but they do. And I'll end with this. I had early on in my counseling career, I had a therapist, a seasoned therapist, tell me, "You dress too nice. You're always dressed up. You're gonna turn people off. People aren't gonna feel like they can relate to you." Well, guess what? I still do that after 20 years. I still wear suits to work. I dress up for work, whether I'm working at my computer on the screen in my home office. Now I don't have brick and mortar anymore, but if I'm going to someone, meeting with someone, I'm dressing as best as possible because it does send a message and it will reverberate for years. First impressions do last. Thank you. Back to you. This is Prof T. Love the topic, Tom. This is a great topic, but I'll digress. Thanks. Back to you, Tom or Dom.
Hey, no, this is good stuff. And this halo effect is, I'm glad you brought it up, Tom. And the thing about it is, in business, it allows you entry into other markets as well. So you look at a company like Tesla that is allowed to make vodka. They're allowed to build rockets. They're allowed to get into mining, boring into LA or wherever they're boring, making tunnels at, because they've done something so well. They present at a high level, like The Rock, for instance. The Rock that we see in all these movies. He's a wrestler. He's advertising things. He presents well, and he is allowed into these other markets where then for additional streams of income and things like that. So I love this. Look at even Shaquille O'Neal. You start to look at the person can move just like when you show up in your best light. Okay, we are two. Okay, I'll reset. Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We do this every Wednesday, like Prof T said. Follow everybody you can. Connect with people. Watch other shows. Watch Julie's show. Connect with Dr. Tachi. Check out Jess's podcast. Follow Tom. Have a meeting with Vaughn. There's a lot of great people in this room, on this app. You'll learn from them. You'll find out that, whoa, they're involved in this Habitat for Humanity that I'm into, or that, oh, I didn't know they were into, like I saw Tom on a whiskey tasting show one day. I didn't know Tom liked whiskey, but Tom and the Dej were doing whiskey tasting together. So make sure you meet and greet everybody. It is all, let's see, we're up to Darlene. It is always your next move, okay? Unless you're playing chess, it could be the other person's turn. Darlene, what do you got for us? Give a tip today. How you doing?
I'm hoping that y'all will be able to hear me because I don't have no Wi-Fi. I'm at work. I know most of you beautiful people in here, so I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I'm from bipolar state, Florida, and Clubhouse has been a blessing. And whenever I see podcasting or speaking, books or anything like that, I just try to jump in the room. And a lot of times I can't get in there to talk, but I'm always hanging at the bottom. I'm always a sponge. I'm always taking in what everybody says. And I take y'all in the shower with me when I have to get ready for work. I take you in the car with me when I'm going down the road. So I'm always listening. And thank you for having me up and talking.
Hey, Darlene, I might clip that as our replay for, like, if we ever did an advertisement, Tom, for this room, I take you in the showers with me. I take you to work. Darlene, you might have been we're going to have to send her some kind of, what do you call those forms that if you're going to put somebody else on camera, Tom, what do you call those?
Yes. Whatever you like. I'll take that.
A waiver?
Yeah,
A
waiver.
release. A release.
A
A release.
A
release.
release.
Hey, just Tom, Jess, Julie, when you guys are out doing random videos, do you have? I used to carry them with me. Do you ever carry releases with you?
Yes.
I don't do random videos. What do you mean random videos?
Well, like you could be at a one time I was at a convenience store and I met a woman who saved a baby opossum. Did you know possum actually spelled with an O first? But she saved a baby opossum, and I made a video of her. She became a mother to this little possum, and I just wondered, we had a lovely conversation, and I'm wondering, inspirational conversation. I just thought, since we're sharing tips, do you have waivers? Sometimes when I'm filming, I take them with me. I had somebody recently, Tom, in one of our videos that we did for Bikes and Hikes, they called and said we had done a tug of war competition in a park. The lady called the network and said, I don't want to be on the show. Don't put me on the show. And then we had to scroll through and figure out who that person could even be to not put them on the show. So, Tom, go. Julie, go on.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ever doing anything for commercial purposes, you are well served to make sure that you have clear, written, signed permission from everybody who appears on camera to be on camera and to be a part of the production. And part of that release should grant you, right? It literally should say that they grant you rights to use their image and their likeness, right, in that video for your purposes, that they waive all rights, right, and grant them to you so that they don't have recourse. If they change their mind, if you're filming somebody with a business and they end up leaving that job and going to work for another business, they can't turn around and say, hey, you can't use that training video or you can't use that commercial with me in it anymore because I don't work there, right? So you have to make sure that you get a release. It's very, very important, especially for anything you're doing commercial. Now, the other thing I would say is if you're out doing a video for your social media, right, or something like that, do your best to make sure that you're not including other people in your content that haven't either given you express written permission or don't. The other way around it, and it's not as good and wouldn't necessarily hold up in court as well if somebody decided to get litigious. But you can, as a safety, you can always put them on camera, right, and ask them specifically if you have their permission to film them, to record them, and to use it on your social media, right? And have them answer that question clearly. Make sure both of you can be heard clearly on the video. That's sort of a safety cheat that you can do as a quick runaround. And most people, if you are filming, say you're walking down the street and somebody's behind you, that's actually not something to worry about, right? If somebody happens to pass through frame behind you, they can't come after you for that because it's protected by your First Amendment rights. They're in a public space and they have no reasonable expectation of privacy. So if they're caught in the background of one of your videos as you're walking down the street or something like that, and they're not actually a participant in it, they don't speak on camera, they don't answer questions, you don't feature them if they're just passing by in the background or something like that, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. If they're in a public space, they have no reasonable expectation of privacy. And so you're clear to use that footage. But if you're going to go and do an interview with somebody, you better be sure that you have a release from them signed, stating that they give you the rights to use their likeness and image in your content. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Tom. I love the tips. And I'll just share with you, in books, music is pretty much off limits unless you have direct approval. Like everybody wants to quote lines from songs and things like that. Unless, like, music is really protected. So you really need to watch yourself there. If in regular, like if you're talking about an ex-spouse or something like that, the law states, can a reasonable person identify who you're talking about when you get into disparagement or defamation? So can a reasonable person identify who it is that you're talking about? So you really should change the specifics of the person, the job of the person, the hair color of the person, the name of the person, how many kids they had. You really should look to change those things so that you don't end up in a case, because the worst thing, Tom, in publishing world for me, is a cease and desist. It's worse than the lawsuit because you're so anxious to get your book out. You're ready. You've done so much work. And then at the last second, somebody files something that says you can't even put that book out. I really don't find it worth the risk. So, hey, podcasters, I'm just going to ask. We're going to meet a few more people here, but podcasters, I want to ask you a question on that same thing. Somebody wanted a release from me the other day to be on their show, and I'm like, I got to file a release to be a guest, and it seemed pretty thorough. And then I'm like, it took me a while to fill it out, and I finally did, but I felt like I was just a little bit uncomfortable. So, podcasters in the room, releases, thoughts on them? Go on.
Hi, Dominic.
Go on.
This is Julie. We have one, a very simple release on a jot form, but just speaks to that they don't own the content. Everything that they said, may be produced in our episode. And once you do it, you do it. So, but it's definitely not a 5-page. It's like you just check a box and then you sign, electronic signature. So I find that a little off-putting to have to fill out like a page or 2-page waiver. I mean, what show was this? Was this Joe Rogan or what?
No, I will not say, but it was about 3 pages, and I really had to read it more than
That's
once.
a
It
little
was,
obnoxious. That's a
yeah,
little
yeah. I don't
obnoxious.
want. Hey, I love everybody. Come on now. Yeah, so I'm trying to learn here. Go on, Julie. Jess,
No,
go on.
I agree. I'm with Jules on this as well. But like three pages, I would say, just this is my my own personal opinion. That's why I love having wonderful friends who are attorneys. In my own personal opinion, I will say if it's something like that guest type form, then yeah, I would probably also I probably would be apprehensive because I would want to research even more like the platform. So what's the what's behind the extensivity of this release? Like, is there more? So yeah, I probably would question a lot more. I do honestly think, now that I'm thinking to myself out loud, I would question. But a simple release, yes, as well. And to me, it's to protect just myself and the guest as well. Like that's a big thing also. It's to really to provide that comfortability factor for both.
You are probably going to see me as on there. I'll probably be their number one pitch man. They'll probably put like devil horns on me or something like that, and be airing it 10 times a day or something. But it was just different. I thought I'd ask you guys about it. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Vaughn, we're looking for tips today, man. Vaughn's a superstar. He always comes with a smile. Vaughn, what kind of tips would you give for somebody like me? I'm starting out. I need some help with anything. Where would you go?
I loving how the room is going. I would start off. Can you hear me? Okay, I want to make sure. Are we
Vaughn,
good?
you sound great as always. The other day I was in a room and Vaughn had 2 profile pictures in the same room. I don't know if you did that on purpose, Vaughn. And
Really?
every time Vaughn talked, it was the best. So if anybody figures out this, anytime Vaughn talked in the room, there was 2 heads of his, and they both lit up at the same time. So you were like in stereo. Go on.
Oh, I don't know how I did that. I'm gonna have to replicate that. Um, well, one of the things like Tom was saying earlier, I really grabbed as far as like what your presentation is. Like every time you see his video, it shows his expertise. And I always had some problems on my phone or whatever when I'm speaking. It's like, well, how can an audio person have, I can't have, static or poor connection, or you can't hear me. So that really helped me to fix that. But my tip for someone starting off and visitors to like this room, really who you surround yourself with or who you're listening to. I've always said that it's more important, like I tell my son, it's more important about who knows you more so than who you know. Because you can know a lot of people. You could, I know so and so are there, but if someone knows you and likes you, knows you and trusts you, that is the world of difference. And so, in being known, not to be like popular or to have a, a just to have a, be a star or something like that, not being known like that, but that there's an actual, genuine relationship with someone where people they like you or they enjoy you. They may not agree with you, you may not have opinions, but my thing is, um, who you surround yourself with. What is your atmosphere and your environment, and then the one-on-ones is like make sure that who knows you, because they're going to talk about you, they're going to refer you, they're going to send other people to you, and make sure that you're in a good place to where you're known well. You don't have to be liked by everybody, but those that know you make sure you have a good connection with who you're known of. So that would be my tip. I yield back the mic.
Vaughn, thank you very much. I think that, Tom, you talk a lot about community, and that really seems like what Vaughn's talking about there, you think?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think I use the word community a lot because I really don't like the idea of followers, right? Like my goal, if Dominick and I wanted followers, then it would just be he and I up on stage by ourselves proselytizing to the group and then expecting that people are going to show up just to listen to us ramble, right? And that's not what this is about. We're here to share, to work together, to lift each other up, right? And that's what communities do. So I use that term all the time. And the part of the reason I do it is because I want people to think of themselves as a contributing member of something bigger than themselves, right? So, and I want businesses to think of themselves like that, right? There's too often in business, the temptation is for businesses to be very extractionary. The goal often is to separate as much cash from their customers as quickly as possible, basically to maximize profitability, right? And to me, that's not really that's not a good long-term sustainable model, right? I think what we should all be doing more of is thinking of ourselves as members in a bigger community and looking for opportunities to provide value to that community. And the beauty of that is that if you deliver value to a community, that community will in kind return value to you, right? It's the rule of reciprocation, right? My favorite word that actually I haven't used in here in a while, right? But it's the rule of reciprocation. It's part of the social contract that we're all party to. If you give value to people, they will return that value to you, right? And that's how I think of myself. In fact, just this morning, I've started signing my emails instead of sincerely or thanks or whatever. I decided this morning, I did it on a whim and I just kind of liked how it felt. And so I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to start signing all my emails here to help, right? Because that's who I am. That embodies what I believe in, that I lead with value. And so, yeah, so that's why I talk about community all the time. I think Vaughn's on the same page for sure. But yeah, we're all here to contribute. And if you contribute, people will support you in return. People will contribute back to you in return, right? So instead of trying to take as a business in particular, instead of trying to take cash, take revenue, take profits, right? Instead of trying to take, give, right? And people will give to you in return. They'll follow that rule of reciprocation. We literally can't help ourselves.
Oh my God, Tom, I have to say that is phenomenal. Like you just hit it so perfectly. So just perfect. And that is exactly what I love about this room. And that is why I said this was what I needed, my reset. I needed to be here. I had to be here. I needed this reset. And legitimately, like you put it right there, Tom. And that's why I have to co-sign with Prof T. Yes, it is a community, but like if you're not here Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning, you are definitely you're missing out. So that's my own personal opinion. That's how I feel. and that's what I love about this community.
Thanks, Jess. I appreciate that, and we love having you here. And love what you bring to the table, what you bring to the community, what all of you bring to the community. That's it. It only works if we all put in, right? It only works if we all give, right? And if we all give, then we'll all receive as well. Like we'll all get out of it, out of the experience. Ultimately, what we're doing here is very much what I want to do on a massively broader scale. I was telling people about this last night. I've got a new social enterprise side of my business that I'm launching. And the reason for it is that I want to change the way business is done, right? Like, period. I know that's a huge, ridiculous, crazy statement, but that's really what I want to do. I want to change the way business is done. I want to change the relationships that businesses form between themselves and their customers or their clients from one of an extractionary nature of of mining profit from customers. I want to change it to a give relationship where everyone walks away from the experience having benefited for it. And that's just the world I want to live in. And so that's what I'm working towards doing. And that's what, I try to do in this room. That's why I talk about leading with value all the time. Dominick and I were texting yesterday about what we were going to talk about today. And Dominick said, I want it to just be tips, right? He threw that out. And I said, I'm on board with that. I'm all about leading with value. So 100%, let's do it. And it's been an amazing room today. I'm so excited for all the tips that have been shared, all the wisdoms that's been shared, all the input that's been given, the questions that have been asked. It's been amazing. So thank you for being here. And then up next, we've got David Kidd, who's here on the bottom of my speakers list here. So I think the last speaker we have up, last but certainly not least. So David, drop a tip. Let us benefit from your wisdom. What do you got for us today, my friend?
All right. Hello, everyone. David Kidd. I would say on this app, as far as Clubhouse, I would say the thing that I do is I research before I do, let's say, an interview or I do a room. I do my research before I go into any room that I do. So I do my due diligence and I research for at least about 2 weeks. So I have at least about 30 questions. I don't ask all 30 questions, but I just have those in my bag. And I also have just pretty much just audio. I have their let's say their websites, just pretty much different things about the person before I interview the person, because it's not, I don't want to just be just.
Oh, we lost you, David.
And I liked what you were saying. So, David, if you
I know.
come back about the research, and it is so nice when you do an interview and somebody doesn't ask you the same canned questions or jump. You're in the middle of answering a question, or you give what you thought would be your best answer, and you're hoping for some feedback. And they're like, and next, tell me about when you were born. I'm like, well, what about this story I just told you? I thought this would. So, David, you got the mic still if you can come back. We'll give them a 3. We'll give them a 2. We'll give them a 1. Okay.
I got something on this. Yeah. So on interviews, this is a subject kind of near and dear to my heart because I've seen it. I've done tons of interviews myself in my career in television. I've interviewed hundreds of people. I've done hundreds of interviews for broadcast. So I've done a lot of interviewing. I've been interviewed, and I've seen a lot of interviewing done. And there's a couple of things that I think are crucially important to having a good interview. One is preparation, right? Going in prepared, having an idea, a blueprint or a framework for what you want to talk about and the questions you want to ask, right? 2, adaptability, right? Being flexible, understanding going in that you're not going to ask all of those questions, just like David was talking about. You're not going to follow that blueprint or that framework exactly, and that's okay, right? So be prepared for curveballs and for things to go a little bit differently than you've anticipated, right? And roll with the punches, right? That adaptability is incredibly important. And 3, I think the best interviewers are also the best listeners, right? and they allow the interview to evolve the way conversations evolve, right? So the best interviews don't even sound like interviews. They sound like conversations between two people, right? Where you learn a lot and you glean a lot of information, right? So that's the key to doing a really good interview is research, be adaptable, right? And listen and respond and have a conversation with your interview subject. Don't just ask canned questions. The worst thing you can do as an interviewer is not listen at all and just go to your next question, right? And I see people do this all the time. You can watch interviewers do it. They'll ask a question and then they'll wait for the person to finish answering so that they can ask the next question. You can see them as the person is talking, they're looking down at their sheet, reminding themselves of what their next question is. And then as soon as the interview subject stops talking, they go, "Okay, great. Now, why do you blah 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 blah?" Right? They weren't listening at all. All they were thinking about was, what's my next question? Right? Those interviewers are terrible. Don't be that interviewer. I guess we lost David. I just wanted to see Dr. Tachi if you had a thought on that real quick before we. Well, David looks like he's back, so maybe we'll get him back up to finish that thought. See, David, you
Um,
back?
I have bad reception. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Good,
got you.
David.
We got you. So we
Yeah, I'm
lost you
inside
right
the
when you
gym.
were
If you've ever
talking
been to
about.
Lifetime Gym,
Yeah, we lost you right when you were talking about preparation for the interview, right, and having those
okay.
30 questions.
Yeah, so pretty much just like you said, the conversation it has to be conversational. So that's why I like to just speak, have like you said a basis of what I like, what I would like to pretty much an outline of exactly how I would like for the conversation to go. That's why I would have like I normally do like musical artists, or I have like their music, and then I have like, hey, what about this particular song? Da da da. So I pretty much kind of lead them on, them not knowing this, and I pretty much have my line of questioning right there ready to go, and then pretty much like you said, have it as a conversation because just like you said, in any interview process, you want to be like, hey, this is like a regular person you're speaking to because nobody likes a robot in a conversation. So you want to be able to be, just be yourself, and that's what I normally do. So yeah, so just research, research, research. Number one thing that I always do research. That's why when I do my interviews, I try to make it at least 2 weeks out, and I don't speak this fast when I do my interviews, so don't think that. But I post my interviews out at least 2 weeks out so I can do 2 weeks of research. That's what I do. So that's it. What I'm
David,
about
no,
saying.
we appreciate you, man. Loving the tips, and I even love the speeding it up. Sometimes this room goes quick, like sometimes I'll be sitting here like, because there's so many tips and things to learn. So you killed it, man. You were on message. You were right. We love it, man. So welcome back. Okay, welcome back anytime is what I meant. Welcome back anytime. That's a weird way to say that. Come back anytime, Tom. Tom, I see we got Ibrahim here. We're looking for a tip, my man. One, he is the best dressed man on the stage right now. Got to say, Charlie Cifarelli, he's looking better than the Gucci right now. He's got a tie on, and I just got a jacket and so okay, Ibrahim, give us our last tip of the day, something to take us home with. Tom, I struck out. Okay. Okay, let's do this. We don't
We can
strike out.
we can bounce back to. I did want to bounce back to Dr. Tachi real quick, see if she had any thoughts on the interviewing, given that she does so much of it and is so well versed in interviewing. And I've been interviewed by her, and I can tell you firsthand, she's really good at it. So I just wanted to see if Dr. Tachi had any thoughts on interviewing or tips on interviewing techniques for folks.
Well, Tom, thank you. It was a joy to speak with you. And I think that's the key thing. Because I genuinely really like you as a person, it was like we were having a conversation. So I think the key is vet out who you're going to interview. Excuse me, I apologize. Vet out who you're going to interview. Because if you get somebody that gives you one word answers, I don't care how famous they are, how well known they are, it's not going to make for a good interview. And it probably will reflect badly on you more so than them. So them as well, but it will also reflect on you. So do your research, vet people out. Even though this person may be an expert in X, Y, and Z, have you heard them speak before? Is there somebody that maybe you can have it as an alternative? And simply because someone pitches to be on your show doesn't mean you have to say yes. And I think we have the tendency to sometimes, oh yeah, well, let's have them on the show, but you can't fit a round peg into a square hole. If they're not either a fit for the topic of your show and you're just trying to make it work, it will be apparent in the interview. So yeah, vet the person out first before. But I agree with everything you said, Tom. Absolutely.
Jess, go on.
No, I love what Dr. Tachi said, because one thing that I think personally is, I think it's offensive to the person that you're interviewing if you don't listen. Like, that is just to me, that's just my own personal opinion. It's like highly offensive. So, I mean, if you're interviewing them, I'm just an active listener by nature. And so generally that's kind of how it does flow like a conversation, because I'm always intrigued by, always learning something new, because that's just life. Like, if you don't learn something new each day, you know, you can't just say that oh, I didn't learn it. No, everyone learns something every day. It could be the most minute to the most extreme to however it is that you fit it in your life, but it's just being that active listener. And it really goes so well. Like, it really does. And I love it. Dr. Tachi just hit it. It's about vetting the person. It's chemistry. You'll see chemistry. You hear, if it's not video, if it's just audio, you can hear it. It's just very organic. And that's what I love, honestly. It's just listening. And that's a big thing for me. Is I'm a big person of more listening to other people's stories and kind of having it flow like that. And I just love it. Like, Dr. Tachi just nailed it, and Tom nailed it. This was a great room, guys. Thank you.
Can I just follow up to what Jess said on that? Because of course we're
Tachi,
going
you
to
got
close.
you got a green dot, and you're on this stage for a reason. Come on, of
Thank you. No,
course.
I don't want to belabor the point, but I've said this before. Can we not turn interviews into a dissertation defense for us? So if you're going to ask a question of your guest, let them bloody answer. So because it bothers me when people go on and they tell a story. Is the interview about you or the person you brought on? So ask the question and allow them to answer as fully as they would like. That doesn't mean don't guide the conversation, but there are too many times where people turn interviews into a show about themselves rather than highlighting the guest. So I wanted to add that as well.
Dr. Tachi, I set up a lot of interviews for my authors, and it is so disheartening when they're on a show, and we understand it's the host show and things like that, but sometimes it turns out to be a 20-minute infomercial for the host of the show, and they don't really get into, and you can see that that the author or the guest was a pawn in a bigger picture, and that really is disheartening. And then rather than sharing the content and wanting to be a part of it and wanting to help your podcast grow or your radio show, on the other hand, they're kind of taken aback, and you don't get the results that you wanted. Tom, what did you want to add? Go on.
Yeah, no, I think 100%. I think it just goes back to that idea of it being a conversation, right? And what your intention is. If you're inviting someone on to your podcast, for example, right, you should be inviting that person onto your podcast because they will bring value to your audience, right? Ultimately, that's the goal of your podcast, is to bring value to your audience. It's what it should be, right? It's having a podcast, doing this, what we're doing right here. It's all about the audience, right? It's all about the community. It's not about you, right? So don't make it about you. And if somebody does make it about themselves, you know that, you can steer clear of them in the future. But but that they were never there to help you or to provide value to their audience. They were there to help themselves, right? And like that's the kind of behavior that we should not reward, right? What we should reward are the people who are giving and the people who are there to provide value to their communities through their podcast, through their platforms, right? So I think that it ultimately that's what it comes down to, is why are you there? And if you're doing it right, and I will stake my flag on that. If you're doing it right, then the reason why you're bringing people onto a podcast or the reason why you're interviewing people is to provide value to your community, right? And so it shouldn't ever be about you. It should be about delivering that value, period. End of story. Landing the plane. Dropping the mic.
Drop it, Tom. Hey, guys, everybody in this room, you passed by for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, you hung for an hour, you hung from the beginning. You're appreciated. I don't know if I'm getting soft or what, Tom, but I'm almost in tears because when you set something up, like I've been on Clubhouse with one person in my room. I've been on Clubhouse where I thought I've done videos with one person, right? And just that's life. That's part of putting yourself out there. And today, to see this conversation, so many people contributing, giving input on things that maybe we don't know about or talking about different subjects and stuff like that. It was absolutely fantastic. So, like I said, I'm getting soft. I mean, maybe I need to, I don't know, maybe I need my Diet Mountain Dew earlier today, but you guys really made me feel good today. Selfishly, I feel good because like you warmed my soul thinking, how many tips were shared and stuff like that. How many people could we possibly have helped today? So I'm just so pleased with being in the room today. So that's what I got, Tom. I got nothing left. I'm like Vaughn would say, my bucket is full. I'm feeling from the saucer. So go on, Tom.
Yeah, man. I mean, I 100% agree. And I think I'd be willing to bet that there's not a single person here now or that came through the room today who doesn't feel like they gained from being here, right? That who doesn't feel that they benefited from coming into this room today. And that is like, that's the best thing that I could hope for in anything that I do, is that people walk away from the experience feeling better for having had it, right? Feeling better for having been a part of it. I try to do that in my personal life. I try to do that in my professional life. And I try to do it here on Clubhouse every week with you and in these live streams. And I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to share with and benefit from this amazing community of people that we've built up over the last 6 months in this room. And I can't wait to continue working together to lift each other up, to help each other improve, and to push forward and onto bigger and better things as a community, right? So that's how I'm feeling right now, and in the spirit of today's room, which I feel like should be a recurring theme. Just saying, because it's been such a great day. Like, why would we not try to repeat a little bit of this magic? But in the spirit of the room today, and the spirit of giving tips, I got one more tip for everybody. So audio matters more than you think when it comes to video, right? It doesn't only matter on audio only platforms. It doesn't only matter on Clubhouse or whatever. Audio really, really matters. In fact, when they've looked at videos, they've found that viewers are much more willing to forgive poor video quality than they are to forgive poor audio quality. In other words, if they can't hear what you're saying clearly, they will click away or tune out from your video almost instantaneously. But if the camera's not framed properly or the lighting isn't perfect or it's a little bit shaky, people will ride that out so long as they can hear you clearly, right? So here's the tip. With that knowledge, here's the tip. Get online and order yourself, if you're going to make videos with your phone, order yourself a shotgun microphone for your phone, right? Not a lavalier, Don't get a lavalier. Don't be dragging around wires everywhere, right? Get a shotgun microphone for your phone and use it, please. But you can get them for like $30. There's all kinds of different models available online. Go online, do a little bit of research. Google is your friend. There's tons of people that have compiled lists of the best microphones to buy to use with an iPhone or an Android phone. So get online, do a little Google research, pick a microphone, and get a shotgun microphone for your phone and use it when you create videos. It will make a dramatic difference in how long people stick around to hear what you have to say and to learn from what you're sharing. Right. So that's my last tip of the day. Go out and buy that microphone, spend that $30. It'll be the best $30 you ever spent for your content creation. All right. So again, I just want to end it with gratitude. Thank you all for being here today and every Wednesday with us. Dom and I both appreciate you. We appreciate you being a part of this space and helping this community grow. And I, for one, can't wait to see where we go together. What do you think, Dom?
Fabulous, man. Thanks, everybody. That's all we got. We're out. 3, 2, 1. Peace.